Good evening, I'm Uday Pratap Singh. You're watching our special series on NewsX, Second Wave Superheroes, where we recognize those individuals and organizations who've stepped up amidst the pandemic to help people across the country. As India battles the COVID 19 pandemic, our first guest today is Shomik Ray. He's Secretary of a Community COVID Relief Initiative who are providing O2 concentrators as well as free counseling helpline in collaboration with other community initiatives.
As the crisis of oxygen, beds, and health units surged in the second wave of the COVID pandemic, Shopno Akhun, a theatre group from Chittaranjan Park, formed a community COVID relief initiative. Secretary of Shopno Akhun, Mr. Shomik Ray, put together health units, oxygen concentrators, and free counseling helpline in collab with other communities in CR Park. NewsX proudly recognizes second wave superhero Mr. Shomik Ray, Secretary of Shopno Akhun, for community healthcare relief. Hello, I'm Priyanka Chaudhary and welcome to NewsX's very special series, The Second Wave Superheroes, where we bring stories of people and organizations who have helped extended a helping hand to many at a time when India continues to reel under a devastating pandemic. Today we are joined by our special guest, Shomik Ray, who is the Secretary of Shopno Akhun. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So help us understand about your organization, Shopno Akhun, and the initiative that, Shopno Akhun has started.
Okay, so Shopno Akhun is basically a social organization. So we started off as a social cultural organization, and we were engaged in creative performing arts, especially theater. And gradually we moved into other areas like heritage education. So that's a strong part of our work. And we've also been responding to local social issues in the community as we moved along. So we've been around for 10 years now. And about the current initiative, see, many of us in Shopno Akhun, we actually belong to the development sector. So professionally, we work in the development sector and various issues related to development. As far as the current response to the pandemic is concerned in our country. See, there are certain things which the state has to do, like set up hospitals and provide health care. But there are a lot of things which can be managed at the community level. And that's where the role of civil society comes in. And this initiative is part of that. So, like, for example, provision of oxygen or emergency equipment at the local level can be provided if local civil society comes forward, which, many organizations in the current period have been doing so. So that's where our initiative came from. So Shopno Akhun basically reached out to the residents and to the community-based organizations in and around Chittaranjan Park to help in setting up something what we call a community-based emergency management unit, where we can have some emergency medical equipment which can be used by the community members when in need. So we started with oxygen concentrators because that's what people were looking for all around. And gradually we hope to add in more services with this unit. So that's in a nutshell what we did here.
Okay. So sir, help us understand roughly how many people are now a part of your team and working actively as volunteers and of course as mentors.
Okay. So see, Shopno Akhun has more than 25 members within itself, and a team of around 10 people within Shopno Akhun are working for this initiative currently. But we've been joined by 4 more community-based organizations in Chittaranjan Park who joined hands for this. And individually, about another 10 or 15 more people have joined in within this initiative, because there are 3 things which are basically happening currently. We've been able to set up this unit, which is housed within one of the organizations within Chittaranjan Park called the Deshmukh Chittaranjan Memorial Society. And so the unit has been set up there. We've also been running information service where about 15 volunteers from the community, some from within Shopner Akhund, some from other places, joined in to screen information that is available in the social media. So what they do is every morning they personally verify leads and information which come in there. So things like where are beds available, where is oxygen available, and where are medicines available. So they would personally call up these numbers which float in the media and verify them and give a sort of personally verified leads for the day. So about a team of 10 or 15 people are working on that. Now that service has been gradually waning over time because as the situation has been improving, so the demand for such services have been coming down. The other thing that we've been doing is we've set up a counseling service for mental health issues. So we've put together a team of about 15 trained counselors and therapists who are available to provide free counseling to anybody who is affected by the pandemic. So it might be people who have been infected, people who have lost their closed ones, service providers, doctors, nurses who've been involved in COVID response. Because this is going to be a major issue because, people have been losing their closed ones and people have been, and this lockdown itself is creating a lot of stress. And as of now, we've gone through a period of high activity. So there's been a frenzy. People have been busy. So either looking after patients or looking for hospitals, caring, losing people. But once this whole thing settles down, the mental health issues will become more and more prominent. So people will need mental health services. And so this team of 15 counselors are available. We have one telephone number where people can call from across the country and the person will be put in touch with one of these counselors. So this is a whole team of about, I would say, maybe around 25 to 30 people are working in different verticals to make this happen.
Okay, so what has been the response from people and communities in accordance to all the verticals that you have just explained us?
Well, I would say the response has been very good because as far as the counseling service is concerned, we didn't have a problem with that because, as I said, many of us are from the development sector background. So we have friends who are counselors, who are mental health experts. So it was just a matter of reaching out to them and telling them, are you willing to be part of this? And they were happily part of this. So that was one part of it. As far as setting up this unit is concerned, we got overwhelming response from the residents of not only CR Park, but also from other places within Delhi and also outside. And that's partly because we've had an established credibility over the last 10 years within the community. And so there was a fire incident last year in a place called Tughlakabad where we responded and people saw that we responded and people also came in with us to help us respond. And as part of our heritage education program, we have a project which is called Neighborhood Diaries, which is basically recording the narrative history of the community of Chittaranjan Park. So through that particular project, people already know Shopner. People know the individuals related to this. So it was easy for us to reach out and they believed in us. It was difficult with the organizations initially, but there were two proactive institutions who came forward and joined us. So the Chittaranjan Memorial Society came forward, the EBDP Association came forward. And once these organizations came forward, there were the Puja Samitis, the two Puja Samitis, the Pocket 52 Puja Samiti and the Cooperative Ground Puja Samiti, they joined in. So now we have 5 organizations and more than 30 individuals who have contributed to this cause. And now that the unit is set up, we are also getting calls from other organizations within the community who are willing to be part of this. So I would say it's been an overwhelming response.
Okay. So, this is what is the need of the hour. People come out in their own communities, form organizations and lend help to the people who are in need, So talking about that, how many, like you said, you talk about oxygen concentrators, how many oxygen concentrators or probably health units have you stocked up, keeping in mind the future of COVID?
Yeah. Currently we have 11 concentrators which is available. And I would say to begin with, that's a very good number. If you're looking at a community like Chittaranjan Park, which I would say probably has a population about 2 lakhs or a little more than that. So 11 concentrators are available. Apart from that, I am aware that certain RWAs have also kept 1 or 2 concentrators for their use. So I would say to begin with, that should be a good enough number. Looking at it futuristically, it may not be needed today, but we are looking at setting up a unit which is futuristic in nature. And we're not looking at only concentrators, so we're looking at putting in other services also. So say, for example, we're looking at putting in wheelchairs, IV stands, orthopedic equipment. Say, for example, elderly people have falls, and they need wheelchairs for short periods in time. And it's difficult for many people to go and buy them for short periods in time. But if these are available, they can be used for the community for shorter periods. And they can go on to other people once one individual is done with it, sort of. So we're looking at adding on more services to it gradually. And now we have offers from other organizations who are willing to pitch in. So we shall have more things like, for example, say, the pulse oximeters or digital thermometers, because they are being black marketed heavily. So for an individual so something which costs 800, 900 rupees is being sold for 2,000, 3,000 rupees. But as an organization or a conglomerate of organization, we have the power to negotiate over suppliers. So, and that's something good for community, because individually you may not have that bargaining power in a vitiated market like what currently is. So that's what we are looking at futuristically, yes.
Okay, with that, I would like to end this by saying a big thank you to you. Since I myself come from Siapak, and I know how important these initiatives are for people residing in the community, and of course in Siapak. This is a remarkable thing that you're doing, and we are really grateful that this initiative has come across, and we hope that it still continues to run. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Spread the good word and stay safe.
And our next guests now for the day and for the show today are Daksha Jedka and Pratima Mittal. We've started an initiative called Kitchen for Senior Citizens, where they have served around 3,500 meals to elderly citizens and also provided food for crematorium volunteers as well.
As the second wave of COVID left us in massive crisis, Daksha Jedka and Pratima Mittal built up an initiative called Kitchen for Senior Citizens in Delhi. In collab with Captain G's, they put up an initiative by a group of old students of modern school. When no one thought of the elderly, they came forward and reached out to many. With over 3,500 meals served, they helped in serving crematorium volunteers and COVID care centers as well. NewsX proudly recognizes second wave superheroes Daksha Jedka and Pratima Mittal for Kitchen for Senior Citizens. Hello, I'm Priyanka Chaudhary and welcome to NewsX's very special series, Second Wave Superheroes, where we bring stories of people and organizations who have extended a helping hand to many at a time when India continues to reel under the devastating pandemic. Today, we are joined by our very special guests, Daksha Jedka and Pratima Mittal, who are the co-founders of Kitchen for Senior Citizens. Welcome to you.
Thank you.
My first question to you, Daksha ma'am, tell us about your initiative and when did it start?
Well, I guess everybody, once the pandemic started, it taught us all a lesson that we have to reach out to people, we have to reach out to people in need. So the idea of Kitchen for Senior Citizens actually came about when a few of us friends were talking about how the seniors in each family is being affected by COVID. So how they were going through a mental and physical difficulty of taking care of their health, taking care of their homes, taking care of their meals. And we realized that if just one part of that we can help them with, it would really, help out in dealing with such difficult times. So the kitchen actually took shape when about 5-6 of us modern school old students got together, and we said, "Chalo, we have to get on to doing something about it." And we all decided on it, and we partnered with the Captain G's Burger Company. We curated a menu with the nutritionist, and we just went about it. We did a puja on 5th of May, and we said, "Chalo ji, let's go on," and we kick-started it.
Let's begin it. Yeah. Okay. So I would like to ask Pratima ji. So as of today, how many people are a part of this team?
So we started with a small group. Like I said, a few friends from modern school got together. It's still not a very large team that I would say, but each one of us are putting in our best. So it's about 20 people were there. So, but various groups and various batches. So Virendra Jain, Puram Jain is 1969 batch. Daksha Jetta, like you know who's here with me. Pratima Mittal, that's me. There's Sid Mebar. There is Janvi Sharma. And Ruhani Jyot is the little, she's a 2020 batch, the youngest of the batch who's part of this team. And of course, we've got the kitchen, that's the Captain G's Burger Company, and there's Karan and Ashwin from there. And we've got some volunteers from various, they're all law students who've joined hands with us to help us both with marketing and, to do a follow-up. So it's a small team, and the rider, the chef, of course, of the kitchen. So it's not a very large team, but each one of us are doing our bit, trying to do whatever we can in this time.
Okay. Daksha ji, help us understand, it has been how many days, if you count today as well, it has been how many days since you have been doing this?
We started our deliveries on 5th of May. So we're about 3 weeks down, and we've already served over 4,000 meals. So we're happy with that.
Okay.
Excited.
Yeah. Okay. Well, my next question, of course, to Pratima ji. So, apart from giving to the senior citizens, do you also, provide the service to others who are in need during this pandemic?
So, like I said, we did think the way it started was that we thought that we should serve the senior citizen. But since then, yes, we've increased our ambit because we realized we're not the only ones affected. So, if you will, anybody who's asked us for help, we reached out. So it's not concised to just the senior citizen. Yes, they are our first priority. But since then, we send food to the Kabristan and to the crematorium, for the volunteers there. It's gone to the hospital for COVID patients. It's gone to a COVID isolation center. We've also given, to the police, the frontline workers. So various sectors, whoever's asked us for help or whoever's reached out to us where we thought there is a need, we've gone ahead and served the meals there.
In fact, we even sent out meals to Swiggy and Zomato riders.
Yes.
Because they're the ones who have been serving meals to everybody through the pandemic. So we even served them meals on Eid.
That was Eid.
Okay. So I have a common question for either of you. So has there been any challenges that you have faced, in terms of funds, in terms of the logistics? Has there been any challenge personally and as a part of the organization?
So and honestly, we thought the challenge was, to begin it was a challenge. We weren't sure how to go about it. It's just like I said, talk among friends and how do we begin. So the challenge that we faced was then. But then since then, I must give it out. Friends, family, and Delhi as a whole has been really kind. Everybody's come in support, whether it's been, support financially or a lot of them open their hearts and kitchens to us as well. So challenge only that much. It's incredible that we managed to do things.
We've actually had people reach out to us and said, how can we help you? Which has been beautiful.
Yeah, I think that's like the most beautiful journey that you would have, and know how Delhi can just stand up for what it needs.
Yeah. So which area did you start from, and today, like, how far have you reached in terms of the distance, the area? Has it just been specifically South Delhi, East Delhi, Central Delhi? How has it been?
See, initially we started out with only South Delhi, and in a span of course, as the numbers of people, their requests grew, we We expanded to North Delhi. We've gone on to West Delhi. We've gone into Gurgaon. And hopefully in the next few days and weeks, we would be able to cover more areas. So we are trying to do as much as we are getting requests, and we're really trying to reach out as much as possible. So at the moment, we're doing North, West, South, and even Gurgaon.
Like you have mentioned, like that you have covered a huge area, or the complete part of Delhi, each and every region you have covered, and you have received an extreme remarkable response from people. So what will be your future plan of action, being the third wave, which might hit us? The people are saying that it's inevitable despite all of us getting vaccinated. Do you still intend to continue doing this, continue with this initiative? What are your future plans?
See, I think, sorry, you go ahead.
Either of you.
For future plans, like I said, this is an initiative that for a few parts, we didn't think it that far. We started by just one thought, we'll continue till the time that we can. But the way things are going, I think we will be prepared. We are getting help. We are at 4,000 plates today. We definitely know that we can do up till 10 to 12,000 plates. So, that tells you that we have at least another month and a half to go. And the way, like I'm saying, the kind of response and the support that we have, I think we'll be able to support this for much longer.
I think we are majorly blessed. We are getting a lot of blessings from people. And with that, I think we're going way more than what we imagined, I think.
Thank you. And we are really grateful, for such initiatives and organizations who have come forward to help people. And this is what was the need of the hour. And I would really want to extend my gratitude, my thanks, and from the entire team, we are really thankful that you've been a part of this show. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
A lot to us. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Totally.
Thank you.
Now, when most hospitals were gripped with overwhelming COVID patients and were also running out of resources, our final guest for the day today, Bharani Kumar Arol, President of Hyderabad Software Engineers Association, have partnered with NGOs working on ground and also helped hospitals in sourcing beds and oxygen via its multi-pronged approach and ground assessments. Take a look.
As COVID second wave led to shortage of ICU beds, liquid medical oxygen, Bharani Kumar Arol, President of HYSIA, worked with NGOs on the ground. HYSIA helped several hospitals in Hyderabad in providing ICU beds, ventilators, liquid medical oxygen via its multi-pronged approach. NewsX proudly recognizes second wave superhero Bharani Kumar Arol.
Good evening and welcome. You're watching NewsX special series Second Wave Superheroes. Today, joining us is Mr. Bharani Kumar Arol, who is the CEO of InfoPeer Solution, and he is also President of Hyderabad Software Enterprises Association. A very warm welcome, sir, to NewsX, and thank you for joining us today. Let's dive into the conversation. And my first question to you is about what was the role of Hyderabad, Software Enterprises Association, and how did you combat or help people out there during the second wave, which was devastating?
Thank you very much, and I'm very happy that you had me today in the show. Well, Hyderabad Software Enterprises Association, the acronym is HYSIA, is a 30-year-old organization trying to work towards promoting the IT industry in Hyderabad and in Telangana. And I'm very happy to be saying that I'm the current president of the HYSIA. And so we've been constantly working towards promoting the IT industry here. And we've been very, very successful working with the government and also all the stakeholders for that matter. But what is primarily our area of focus of late, the last 1 year plus, is the COVID relief activities, because eventually it has not only impacted the IT industry, it has also impacted a common citizen. So with that said, we have been mobilizing all the resources that is humanly possible in the IT industry and trying to help the entire community around us, not trying to be only focusing on IT industry per se, but we have shown a lot of, pride in helping the community around us, which is basically, anybody for that matter who are living in Hyderabad. And we have also just extended our outreach to the remote districts of Telangana as well. I'll speak in more detail as we move in, but otherwise, that has been our focus in the last, close to a year and 3 months.
What all challenges did you face, and what were the solutions that HYSIA was providing?
Wonderful. So first of all, during the wave one, we were basically looking at how do we support the medical infrastructure, because as you all know, the medical infrastructure in the country was under tremendous stress. So with that said, what we did was to be able to support the state government in terms of procuring a lot of, medical infrastructure equipments. And that's what we did. We were able to work with other industry bodies in Hyderabad, and we almost mobilized close to 80 crores. And then we were able to procure a lot of medical infrastructure that was distributed to medical hospitals across the state, right? And that was our focus in the first wave. The second wave, very importantly, what we wanted to do based on our experience is that we wanted to do a demand or need assessment, right? To be able to understand what is really needed on the ground, because many corporates would just donate money, but eventually, what is it being donated for, right? And how is it really reaching the, and creating the desired impact? So this is all very, very important. So based on our experience in the first wave, second wave, primarily we focused on the demand assessment and the need assessment. And based on that, we started mobilizing the resources and, started doing the interventions directly on the ground. At the ground level, understanding what the needs are. We identified that it was staffing that was a huge crisis. A lot of need for nurses, healthcare workers, and sanitary workers, and all that stuff. And also, they wanted some basic medical equipments which would enable them to be able to increase the ICU bed capacity or maybe patient health services capacity. So, with all those information that we've been gathering on a daily basis, we were able to do a lot of improvement in the healthcare services delivery by the government hospital themselves. And I'm telling you, maybe we could just talk about the number of lives we've saved, but I think it gives us immense pleasure and satisfaction that we were able to save a lot of lives. In addition to that, we've been working on setting up ICU beds because, many lives were lost because of lack of ICU beds at that point in time, because the entire system was under a lot of stress. So now we're going to be inaugurating close to about 130 ICU beds. Already some of the ICU beds were enabled, upgraded, and some new ICU beds are also kind of being installed right now. The next couple of days, we will just be commissioning that. Again, that is being done in a hospital called TIMS, Telangana Institute of Medical Sciences. That is also a government hospital, specifically for COVID. So we've just been extending our support many different ways, and even isolation kits and giving our frontline workers whatever necessary aid that is needed. And believe me, we just kind of went around doing all kinds of interventions that is possible, thanks to our IT industry, volunteers, and also the sponsors, right, who made it really happen.
Right. What your organization and association has been doing is commendable. And it, if I talk about the third wave, what do you think hospitals and, with your association and NGOs, how could we be better prepared for the third wave? Because second wave, we were just caught sleeping.
Absolutely. Great question. See, we've already started preparing for wave 3, right? And you know what? If that doesn't happen, great. Even if there's a possibility of happening less than 1%, we better just plan for it, because we've had amazing, kind of impact that we've never even anticipated, right? For wave 2. So what we were doing right now is that the ICU bed setup that we are looking at, and also we are working with a couple of other stakeholders in setting up ICU beds in the districts, right? Because what we've been hearing is that the next wave, it could be even, impacting children in a big way. At least some of the, information that we've been gathering. So we want to set ICU beds in such a way that it is going to be flexible enough for even accommodating children. And that is going to be a key area because we don't want to lose even one more life, right? We have seen many, and that is the reason why, even if there's a very remote possibility of wave 3, which we don't wish happens, but still we want to be prepared. And we're working very closely with the NGOs, with the corporates, with the government to be able to create adequate infrastructure which will be more sustainable in nature. And even for not COVID, this infrastructure that we want to create will definitely be utilized for, for future use, just the ICU beds.
Right. So thank you so much, sir, for joining us on the broadcast today. And it was really nice having you and your association be part of this special series, Second Wave Superheroes. Thank you so much for your selfless service.
Thank you very much for having me, and thanks for this opportunity. I appeal to the citizens through this forum that please do help others, because this is the time that we have to be demonstrating our humanity to be able to help each other and save lives. That's very, very important.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.